welcome to EVTN News, your source for Catholic information. Now, there were plenty of stories, and there are plenty of stories that don't make the cut, so you can scan some news sites and see what you think, but these ones did make the cut. So, I try to pick out some interesting news stories that maybe you may or may not have heard about. I'll talk about those a little bit. First story today is the Eucharistic Revival. So, dioceses across the country are having their own events for the Eucharistic Revival. It mostly seems to revolve around process activities, and that's why I say it's probably not going to be successful. That's just my take. I mean, we'll see. They'll probably get a lot of people because a lot of people will not have to pay for, their own. I'll just shut down. A lot of people will not have to pay for their own tickets. I mean, they may be people that a diocese sends, representatives, and my laptop just. Oh, there we go. All right. So the story here is lots of live streamers. Welcome to the live stream. Here's the story of the Eucharistic Revival. In advance of the National Eucharistic Conference, the executive team has announced the list of mission partners who will support the endeavor. According to a press release, the mission partners include Relevant Radio, Augustine Institute, Franciscan University of Steubenville, EWTN, Our Sunday Visitor, and the Knights of Columbus. Along with recognizing the transformational experience this event offers Catholics nationwide, these organizations have also made substantial financial commitments to the conference. In addition, each has pledged significant in-house resources toward the planning and promotion of the event itself. So the Knights of Columbus are funding this, and they have the money. EWTN, so if you donate to EWTN, they're pushing money into the, apparently, this is what it's saying. They're pushing money into the, throwing money at the Eucharistic Revival fire. Franciscan University of Steubenville, so if you're paying tuition, are they funding the event? It says each has pledged significant in-house resources, which means, what do you think? Franciscan University of Steubenville probably has some students volunteering for the event, maybe, but are they using tuition revenue to fund this Eucharistic Revival, this transformational experience? Well, I'll tell you what, a lot of you probably don't live near Indianapolis, and I can tell you where there's something that might be even more of a transformational experience. Your local Latin Mass. That's a transformational experience, and you think that only 30% of those people believe in the real presence? On the website, so I looked at the Eucharistic Revival's website. The sponsors include Benedictine College and University of Mary in North Dakota. So the sponsors, they say, pledge financial commitments, although this article didn't list those universities. And then from the Eucharistic Revival's website, collaborators, I don't know what that means, but there are collaborators, and they include America Magazine and Loyola Press. So America Magazine, which hates the Catholic faith and often promotes heresy, is a collaborator of the Eucharistic Revival. Does that give you any confidence in it? Or are they trying to undermine this event? Well, Cardinal Cupich has been trying to undermine it as well. Whenever you have over 60 bishops who said that they wouldn't deny Biden communion, you have a serious issue. So these are the bishops. The USCCB is in charge of this event, but you have over 60 bishops who said they don't believe in the Church's doctrine on the Eucharist. They would give it to anyone. Whatever. Maybe because they also reject certain points of the Catholic faith. Why don't you ask them? Oh, but they won't answer you. They'll just ignore you. Maybe some of them will. They won't appreciate the question. All right, so this is actually flashback, but I never talked about this. So in 2019, I must have missed this quote in which Pope Francis railed against married deacons. Yeah, I thought that he would be all in support of it because, the married priesthood is certainly what the modernists are trying to accomplish. So here he says they become permanent deacons, and instead of being the custodians of the service in the diocese, they immediately look at the altar and end up being failed priests, halfway priests. I advise the bishops, remove the deacons from the altar, that they go to service. They are caretakers of service, not first-rate altar boys or second-rate priests. Wow, that's really insulting. Oddly, the Holy See Press Office made no mention of the Pope's November 16, 2019 address to the First Plenary Assembly for the Dicastery for Laity, Family, and Life in its English language bulletin. It's not in English on the Vatican's website. And the Vatican has not published an English translation. Oh, yeah. And the Vatican has not published an English translation of the Pope's 2019 address despite its significance. So that was interesting. I thought it was very interesting. Flashback. That's 3.5 years ago. All right. More recently in the Vatican, the Vatican's Dicastery for the Laity, Family, and Life is preparing a document that will address divorced and remarried couples at the request of Pope Francis, according to the Dicastery's prefect, Cardinal Kevin Farrell. Oh, that's going to be great. He's the one who was roommates with McCarrick for 6 years and had no idea that McCarrick was molesting all of these people. Okay, so anyway, Farrell mentioned the in-progress document in a speech delivered in Italian on April 22nd that opened the meeting of the Dicastery. He said, "On this front, the Dicastery is also working on the preparation of a text that will specifically concern, as you wish, Your Holiness, men and women who, having a failed marriage behind them, live in new unions." So they've already, contradicted St. Paul. But now, you don't even have to, you can live in a state of mortal sin, unrepentant mortal sin, and it's a public state of mortal sin. And the Vatican is trying to accompany these people. Great. Also, the Vatican announced Wednesday that there will be lay people participating as voting members in the Synod on Synodality's October assembly. Pope Francis will also approve every member in advance. So what? We're looking at President Xi, Jeffrey Sachs. What about the abortionists in the Pontifical Academy for Death? I don't think any of them are going to be Catholic. Or at least, I don't think any of them will believe in the Catholic faith. I mean, if Pope Francis is going to approve them, I don't know. What do you think? 70 members who may be priests, consecrated women, deacons, and lay people will be able to vote. They will be chosen by the Pope from among a list of 140 people selected by the leadership of this year's Continental Synod meetings. All right, so look at who's in charge of the Synod meetings, and then those are the people that are going to be selecting, choosing a list, and then the Pope's going to make the final cut, or he's going to make the final decisions who gets selected. According to the Synod leadership, it is requested that 50% of the selected people be women, that the presence of young people also be emphasized. Are they going to be the young people that were on that Disney Plus interview with Pope Francis? The young people, 9 out of 10 were non-Catholics. Yeah. All right. What Father Donald Calloway got bullied. So he said, dude named Mark Shea, this is Father Calloway's post, who used to do good stuff, is apparently enlisting an army of followers who sent emails to my superiors to get me in trouble for my support and promotion of gun ownership. Good luck, buddy. One email even said it was bad behavior for a vocation director. Couldn't be more wrong. Need more men and testosterone in the priesthood. You're in my prayers, guys. Epic fail. So, cancel culture. Mark Shea, who's very profane, um, he says a lot of really mean things about Catholics, even though he supposedly converted to Catholicism a while ago. But he seemingly embraced the Francis Church, and that's sad to see. All right, so I have some more information here. Oh, did you hear about, well, supposedly Bishop, the good, what they call him, the good Tobin, Bishop Tobin of Rhode Island, Providence, Rhode Island. He turned 75 and was immediately removed, but they had already named his successor a while ago, so it was in the works. I talked about that, and he had been mildly critical of Pope Francis, and that's what happens when you're mildly critical of Pope Francis is you get kicked out. And Bishop Strickland, I don't know. How long do you think he'll be a bishop? Do you think he'll make it to age 75, or will he be forced to retire or resign, I guess? I don't know. We'll see. He's not worried about it. I don't think people should be worried about it, but when it happens, don't be shocked, you know? All right. So, good news for a change. Have you heard of the SSPX Immaculata? It is in St. Mary's, Kansas. Let me read this and then I'll explain. The SSPX will host the consecration of the new Immaculata Church on May 3rd, 2023. So that's this upcoming Wednesday on the grounds of the historic St. Mary's Academy and College. Seating over 1,500 people, this will be the largest Catholic church in Kansas and the largest of the society in the world. In the world! It's the largest SSPX church in the world. Bishop Bernard Follet, an auxiliary bishop of the SSPX, will be the celebrant. Taylor Marshall and many others plan to attend. That's big. That's big news. A live stream of the ceremony will be available on the website at the link in this video description. You can also see a lot more details on the design, the building, the progress that they made. And they were slowed down by the virus stuff, but it's done. And the church, the consecration of a church, the ceremony is very extensive. I expect it will be a longer mass than like pre-55 Easter Vigil. So I think, share it with your friends, share this information with your friends. This is a really big deal. It's a big church, and I'd like to visit there sometime. I mean, I don't know when I'll have a chance to do that, but that would be fun. That would be a very interesting experience, just to see how it looks in person and just to see the scale. There was something else I wanted to say. Oh yeah, the ceremony itself. So in the book, The Incredible Catholic Mass, that was written in the 1700s, has been republished, or it's been published by Tan. In that book, at the beginning, I believe it's the first chapter actually, it talks about the consecration of a church, and it's extensive. I mean, they bless it on the inside, and they bless it on the outside. I believe from what I've heard, they have a fire. They actually have a fire in the church. And then they bless the four corners of the church. Is it multiple times? I don't know. But if you watch this live stream, you'll be able to see it. And I'm sure you'll be able to tune into the live stream because it's going to be very long. And I'm sure the video will be available after the fact as well. If you want to, kind of see what kind of see what happens. And apparently, from what they've been saying, well, they scheduled the consecration for the middle of the week so that a lot of the priests of the SSPX could make it there. And there's going to be a ton of lay people. The parishioners who are local will get first priority, and then they will have overflow seating outside. They'll probably set up a huge tent or several massive tents for overflow seating, and it's just going to be a big event, massive event. And I hope that we'll be able to see it. I hope that there will be a lot of famous people there, and yeah, so good news. Tune in on Wednesday. I hope that this gets promoted in the media. I do expect, well, Canon 212. I expect Canon 212 to promote it. Gloria TV. Probably LifeSite News, maybe. But will the mainstreams promote it, like Catholic News Agency or any of the other mainstream websites? We'll see. That remains to be seen. But you can promote it to your friends. Spread the word. This is a big deal. It's the largest Catholic church in Kansas. Is it the largest church in Kansas? I don't know. Big deal. Okay, I listened to a Tim Gordon interview. It's on YouTube. And he interviewed a seminarian on his channel who was kicked out of the Archdiocese of Birmingham, Alabama, because the seminarian wanted to receive communion kneeling. And they had a lot of he made a lot of interesting comments. Now, Tim Gordon, he takes about 4 times as long to say things as he needs to. But I listened to the whole thing, and the story is sad because a lot of seminarians do actually end up making it through. Like, this is sort of an exception. He got kicked out. Some of the bishops, they can kind of tell when the seminarian is trad, but you have to pretend that you're not. And then you have to hate your life for the rest of your priesthood. That's kind of how it goes. Because if you have to pretend that you're Catholic, then what's the point? And fortunately for this seminarian, he didn't end up making it through. Because then he would have just been miserable. I mean, find a diocese that's not a diocese. No, that's not going to work. Don't find a diocese, because who knows, even someone like Strickland, he could be removed any day, and then there could be a modernist put in charge. And how many people want Strickland to be their bishop? But then whenever he's gone, what's going to happen? And they're not even going to be able to say the Latin Mass at all anyway, for the short-term future, unless they do a secret Mass. Because even private Masses, you can get ratted out. That's why priests are afraid to do that, and with good reason. So it's just a failing system. These bishops, I don't know. I mean, the bad ones at least. Like, if a seminarian wants to receive communion kneeling, and you're against that, what does that say about the bishop? And then they complain about how they have no vocations. I wonder why. But one of the things about the Novus Ordo seminaries is obedience to unjust orders. That's what they do. I've talked to people, and that's their experience. I know a seminarian who didn't want the jab and was bullied in a Novus Ordo seminary, and finally got the jab, and he lost his vocation. Really? That's what they do. I've heard of several others who lost their vocation in a diocesan seminary. Yeah. You have to fall in line and do what you're told, even if it's unjust and contrary to divine law. And if you can deal with that, and if you can do that and put on a good enough face, then you'll make it through. But if you can't, then you're kicked out. Find a traditional seminary, find a traditional religious order. Because here's the thing, if the dioceses continue to fall apart and no one joins the diocesan seminary, but they continue to join SSPX and the FSSP seminaries, and guess what? There's going to be an overflow of traditional priests and not enough diocesan priests. Then what's going to happen? Are they going to are these bishops going to invite in the traditional religious orders? I mean, Pope Francis isn't going to live forever, and the ban on the Latin masses isn't going to exist forever. So is that going to happen eventually? But furthermore, good men who want to enter the priesthood, which is going to fulfill their vocation to the fullest potential? Going to the FSSP or the SSPX, or going to a diocesan seminary? What are they going to learn at Our Lady of Guadalupe Seminary in Lincoln, Nebraska, where the FSSP is? What are they going to learn? They're going to learn traditional theology. What are they going to learn in a diocesan seminary? Who knows? Who knows what? All I can say is the theology from the last 50 years, some of it isn't Catholic, but they pretend it is. After all, there's a reasonable hope that all are saved. In the last 50 years, before that, outside the church, there is no salvation. Did the theology change? Or did some people just deviate from the Catholic faith? Correction. All right, Father. Okay, this is a funny story here. I saw it today. Father Peter Ryan, S.J., visited his brother William, Fide Donum priest from Washington. I don't know, that might be D.C., in his mission parish in Togo, West Africa. So this priest, this Jesuit visited his brother, who's a priest in a West African country, and he wrote that for the Catholic World Report. During a visit, a delegation from a prominent family appeared who had decided to renounce their ancestral idol and asked Father William to destroy it. Several other neighboring families joined them. The big day began with Mass, followed by a procession of hundreds from the church to the houses, where holy water and exorcising salt were used. Father Peter, the Jesuit, enthusiastically smashed the idols with a sledgehammer before burning their remains. The faithful sang an African song that says that the words are, "Jesus is the victor." Finally, the main pagan shrine was demolished, and a large cross was placed in the middle of the rubble. So a Jesuit smashing idols. How long is he going to be in his religious order? Because the Jesuits are usually the ones that encourage worshiping idols, right? How many Jesuits are secret Buddhists? I knew one of the St. Louis Jesuits, what was that, in the early 70s? They were like they wrote popular music for Mass after the Novus Ordo, after the creation of the Novus Ordo. And one of them left to become a Buddhist. What about Pachamama? How many Jesuits support Pachamama? But here's a Jesuit smashing idols. I think he's going to get a very stern phone call. And whenever this news makes its rounds. But in the meantime, there are surprises, right? This is a surprise, a Jesuit smashing an idol. But not just smashing it, enthusiastically smashing the idol with a sledgehammer before burning their remains. That's pretty good. Thanks for joining me on the live chat. The Immaculata spits in the face of modernist architecture, great even if you disagree with the SSPX. Well, if it fits, 1,500 and 1,500 go to the consecration at church, even if they have 3 priests at the communion rail. Communion will probably take 35 or 40 minutes, even if they have 3 priests. I think they're going to have a lot more priests than that. I think they're going to have most of their priests from the United States, or at least a significant portion. So there could be hundreds of SSPX priests there. Technically, the seminary, the FSSP is seminary of FSSP is in Denton, but that is in the Lincoln Diocese. Okay. Yes, I leave it to you to fact check me. And if you really want to fact check me, all of my links to all the articles that I talk about are in the description. So read these links, read these articles, make your own decisions for yourself. I know I express my opinions, but you can read them and form an opinion for yourself, like an educated viewers, because whenever I read an article and it seems vague and there's not a lot of sourcing, then I'm hesitant to even talk about it on this channel. And so whenever I'm talking about things, you can easily reference my articles, and you can see exactly what the context was. Maybe I took it out of context, although hopefully not. Hopefully I'm usually pretty straightforward on the articles. And just make your own opinions, draw your own conclusions for yourself. It's an exciting week, especially with this consecration of the Immaculata. And hopefully there will be some information that I can talk about it next week. Like I said, I have a bunch of book reviews lined up. Well, a bunch. I don't know. I'm reading some books. I have a bunch of books I'd like to read. I have a bunch in queue. And I just think there's not a lot of Catholic book reviews online. So if I can review some books, then hopefully, I know they don't get a lot of views. It's not popular. Also, I posted a video. I did a live stream last week about bishops who I expect to be promoted in the near future. And so if you didn't take a look at that, then I encourage you to watch it. And it's really, I kind of made some predictions, but really the key thing there is the analysis of there will be 8 archbishop spots available in the next 2 years. And so if you kind of connect the dots there, I mean, you don't have to agree with my conclusions, but I think it would be helpful to see that. And then also, I don't think I included Boston in there either. So that would be what, 9? Thank you. That was a good analysis. Thank you. I appreciate that. And like I said, if Pope Francis dies before that, then obviously things are going to look a little bit different. From what my predictions were, my predictions could be much different if there's a different pope appointing these bishops, and if he replaces a nuncio with a more radical one. I mean, Pope Francis could always replace the nuncio in the United States, who's 2 years over the age retirement. I mean, he's over the retirement age by 2 years, and so Pope Francis could replace him at any time with a radical, like more of a radical, because I think the current one is probably pretty much into the Francis Church, but he could replace him with a McCarrick cardinal. He could replace him with someone like McElroy. I mean, not that I'm saying he will, not that I'm saying McElroy will be the nuncio. I don't think he would be. But there could be someone along the lines of McElroy or the German bishops, pretty much the same thing. It could be even more radical than what this nuncio is, if that's the case. I mean, I don't really know, but it could be the case, and that could happen at any time. Now, a new pope will have an opportunity to put a nuncio in there who promotes the Catholic faith, and then you might have better bishops. Of course, the bishops' congregation, you have, from what I believe, you have, I think Supich and Tobin are on there, so you're going to get a lot of McCarrick bishops, at least for the time being, but, replace them. A new pope could replace them. It's not something that's permanent. It is just something that's unfortunately a little bit longer term than we would like. Much longer term than we would like. We'd like a return to the Catholic faith. And we're not getting that soon. Hopefully it'll happen, sooner rather than later, but that's just what we have to deal with. Okay. This has been EVTN News. Until next time, thank you so much for watching. We are the laity, and we will not be silent.